Oh, okay. I'm gonna make one other post, one other place, and then I will start yapping or whatever you want me to say. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just start going, I guess. Oh, I did not think to post it in that Discord, but I can do that. A live emergency briefing. What, because we're about to die? It was funny though, because we were joking at work today. People were like, "Are we gonna die?" And I was just like, "Yeah, yeah, we are. That's it." A cat? I kicked my cat out of the room because I knew she would be all over the place. Why, when I try, why when I share this, does it pick the literal worst thumbnail humanly possible? Like, why do you have to do me so dirty, YouTube? Can we just not? Why not chit chat about space weather at 2 a.m.? There's nothing wrong with that. Sounds. Had you got me last week when I was on overnights, I would have been all for that. But now I'm back to being a normal person and have to be at work at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. So, no more of that. Which, yes, preface with the fact that I am exhausted. So, if I have a hard time with words, I'm tired because I just switched off of overnights. And now the sun has put me through it all week. Or I say all week, it's literally been 2 days. That says everything right there. Oh, shit. Okay. I guess we will get to yapping now. Because what else am I here for? Um, so since I can't see who is actually watching me, I guess I will do a little brief intro since you are witnessing my first ever live stream. I've wanted to do this for a while, but either it's like events happen when I'm at work or just inconvenient times that I can't do a live stream. And I knew if I tried to wait to do this tomorrow, it would, it's supposed to come midday tomorrow. I'm at work. So we're doing this now. It's been a struggle, but we're here. So yeah. Hello, I am Sarah. As you probably all know from Twitter, I don't know how all of you got here. I am a full-time space weather forecaster. So like I was just saying, I do shift work. So last week I was literally just on overnights working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And now I'm doing 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we just flip-flopped a little bit in the past couple days, just in time for the sun to go full-blown temper tantrum on us. I love that. Some people hate it, but I personally love that I quite literally never know what I'm walking into when I go to work, because I left Friday morning after my last overnight shift and it was pretty quiet. And I came in Sunday morning and all hell broke loose. And the sun was very upset. So here we are in all of its wrath. I don't know who all watches what, but I was like pulling stuff up before I was doing this. And can I just drag this over here? Why? Why couldn't I just drag my screen over? I just want YouTube. Please. There, fine. Okay. Anyways, I was pulling up all my tabs, getting all my data, and I pulled up the freaking low energy protons at ACE, and I'm like, what the heck is this? They're obviously still very elevated, but they are downtrending, which is not great. Not terrible, but not great. Especially, I don't know what, we're still, what is it, UTC at 0Z? So 12-ish hours until we're expecting an arrival. So this could have been a little bit of enhancement from all the flare activity, but still not great. So I guess we'll see what happens over the next 12 hours. We'll see what I wake up to in the morning before I go to work, how these are looking. But I don't like that they turn downward. So we'll see how that goes. Because I looked at the electrons and they're not doing anything really. So I need the protons to pull through. I guess we'll also keep an eye. I unfortunately don't have the link here on my home computer. I have it at work. I don't have the link accessible right now for Solar Orbiter, but we will have to keep an eye on Solar Orbiter because it's in a pretty decent position right now to give us some heads up. I think Solar Orbiter, again, I don't know if I can just pull this over. Okay, there we go. Solar Orbiter is currently at 0.95 AU. Haha. 0.95 AU over here as opposed to Earth's 0.98. So it'll give us a little bit of a heads up, not as much as we're used to when it was sitting like in the middle, halfway. So we'll see. I don't actually know off the top of my head as far as like that AU difference in like once Solar Orbiter sees it, when we should see it at Earth. I don't know that math. I didn't calculate that out, but should give us a couple hours heads up, I think. So we'll see. Again, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's the battle of the models right now, but there's a lot of different model runs out there. They're kind of all a little bit sporadic with the timing. So we'll see how that pans out as far as which one gets it. But we're not going to focus on that. We're not going to focus on the models because I can't. Yeah, I have a hard time. I see I can often agree where Swipsy's a little optimistic, but then also as somebody who is working operations as a forecaster, where our job is to notify people and give them heads up, it's like, it's hard to really blame them. I will say, we're tracking 3, I guess there's 3 CMEs. I'm not gonna lie, I was only tracking 2. When M2M put that run out that had all 3 of them in it, I didn't even know that we were tracking that third one. To be honest, when things get this crazy, I just stop focusing so much on the little details, and you put a forecast out like a G3 that kind of covers everything, and you just ride it out and see what happens. But anyway, back to the Swipsy thing. None of the CMEs looked that great themselves. Any singular CME, like the first 2 were glancing blows in either direction. Again, I don't actually know the full details of the third one because that kind of was, I don't want to say new to me, but yeah, I wasn't fully tracking that one. But none of them looked that crazy. But it's when you rapid fire them and they possibly interact in space, catch up, collide into Earth as maybe one, that you could pretty easily get a G3, honestly. Also, again, so the first 2 were maybe glancing blows, but really they're arriving in 48-ish hours from when they launched. So getting a side swipe from a CME arriving in 48 hours, that could throw you into G3. So G3 is probably a decent, place to be, but we all know how that works with like the field and everything. So it's like, if the field doesn't work out, we might not see G3. But based on the little information we have, a G3 is probably okay. But I get it. It's been a rough year as far as forecasting and all the activity. So I can't fully blame them from being optimistic or overly optimistic, because again, they're looking out for their stakeholders, everybody. So I get it. Also, despite them having the Aurora view maps, their job isn't to forecast Aurora. We use their forecasts to try to proxy out an Aurora forecast, but really that's not what they're there for. So they're looking out for the big players, the power grid, satellite operators, and it's like, if they're at risk, they have to let them know, even if, maybe something in their gut feeling is like, maybe this isn't that great. It's like that chance that it is, they have to cover the bases, which is something that I've also had to learn as a forecaster. There's a lot of times, again, I just said none of these CMEs looked that great to me, where it doesn't look great in my personal opinion, but given the little data that we have, it's hard to argue that there isn't a chance to get a bigger event. So you kind of just have to, like you said, cover everything, cover your bases. If it doesn't happen, that's kind of just the name of the game with having a single few data points on one end of a CME and nothing until it whacks you in the face. So I don't like it. I hate it. It's infuriating having to forecast when your gut just says something different, but you can't really argue it. But I've kind of gotten better with it, which is why I'm so maybe a little aggressive with my not hatred, but hatred for everybody diving so deep into the models and oh my God, this model has this exact output. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're not that good. Until you get me more data, we're not that good. But yeah, so what? That's rant number 1 down. I don't even know where I was originally going, and then I got sidetracked talking about Swipsy's forecast, but that's good. That's what we're here for. But yeah, so we're keeping an eye on these things. Hopefully Solar Orbiter will see something. Why? Why is this so difficult to like fully share my screen? There we go. You know, I am like professional ranter over here. Like, we get these big events and all the crazies come out, and I just lose all self control for rants. Yes, Tanya always over here with all the facts. But nobody ever wants to accept that. Nobody ever wants to accept that you just have to freaking wait. Like, I wish we had more besides, like, I mean, yeah, besides some goes low energy proton, or not goes, ace low energy protons. It's like, we are literally blind. I don't know. But at least I've had the x-ray up, and at least it thankfully maybe looks like we're calming down a little bit. Now I'm gonna jinx that, and we're gonna get an X flare on the stream, you know. Classic. I publicly talk about the sun. But yeah, I don't know if I can. Aha. But yeah, we're maybe chilling out a little bit. We're not quite so high in the background level. Background level had been at like basically M for what, the 29th into the 30th. It was like, that's why I was like so infuriating at work, is like we'd be an M, and I think we're going to drop below M, and then the x-ray like vertical again. And I'm like, I feel the number of times I'm at work and I'm like, I feel like I'm being punked. Like, I feel like the sun just knows. It's just watching me here at work. It's like, hee hee, let me mess with Sarah. Flare. Yeah, see, and that's what really sucks about the solar orbiter data, that I was like having to explain to some people, as far as like my frustration with when we take the models so literally, is like, you know, okay, we have a model output, it says this one thing, whatever, and we're keeping an eye on solar orbiter, these things. Say solar orbiter gets hit, right? We don't have a way, or at least I shouldn't say we don't have a way, we don't publicly, I don't know if anybody in the background does this, we don't have a way to take the solar orbiter data and basically use it to rerun the model, right? And so, like, depending where solar orbiter is, it sees sometimes drastically different things than we do at Earth. So it's like, okay, cool, I have this observation from solar orbiter, you know, or stereo A or whatever, that says this thing, but I still have to try to like prog that out to Earth, because I don't have a way to put that into the model and rerun the model and be like, okay, now given this information, here's how it should look, right? So it's like, even that like in the middle data is still like not fully it, because magnetic field changes, and you know, right now solar orbiter is what, like offset to the east by a couple degrees, so it's at 0.95 AU, and then it's to the east or to the left. So a lot can change in that little bit in space. You're talking a lot of it, but seemingly a little bit of change. So that's why I like refuse, like, even when I'm at work, like yesterday, today, honestly, mostly what I look at on like CME scoreboard, Hux T, whatever, is like I literally just look over here. Oh, I look at the shock arrival, and then I open the model and see, like, is it a glancing blow? Is it a direct hit? Is it a miss? I don't care about quite literally anything else. I don't care what it says the predicted geomag storm parameters are. I don't care what it says the max density, the max wind speed is, because we're just not that good. The models are not that good. The models are only as good as the little bit of data they have to start with, and then the measurement that they're given, which has some bias and some human error in it because it's from a human. And measuring CMEs is so freaking hard. I feel for those at CCMC, NASA that do the CME scoreboard, because on weeks like this where there's like so many CMEs, they're like faint, you don't know which source region it came from. No, thank you. No, thank you. Like, I would rather just be like, yep, there was a lot of CMEs. I'm going to put, say, a G3 and be done with it. Like, I don't care about the semantics. I don't care about the nitty gritty details because it doesn't matter. Space weather is too complex to focus on those little details. Like, is it going to hit Earth? Do we think it's going to hit Earth or not? And roughly what time? And when I say roughly, I mean like 0 to 12 or 12 to 0. Like, which half of the day? Otherwise, like, I don't care. Like, don't bother me with with the details, because it's just too much and you'll become so consumed by it. Like, of course I started as a forecaster and I wanted to like look at every model and I wanted to analyze it and like dig into it, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like you spend so much time, like, this model says it's going to come at 2Z, this model says it's going to come at 10Z. Like, I don't know. Like, so at that point, this one says 2, this one says 10, another one says 8. Okay, so arguably between 0 and 12, it might arrive. Sounds good to me, you know? But it depends. Like, you know, Swipsy has their 3-day forecast that they break it out by 3 hour, probably because that's what their customers want. It just depends who you're forecasting for. But in the nature of like what I'm working in, the super specific details of timing by like 1 to 2 hours don't matter. But also, it's just silly. It's silly to think that you can do that because there's so much variability, especially when you have multiple CMEs in play. Like, one CME, okay, you could do a little bit better as long as the background solar wind data that's in the model is good. Because if the background solar wind model, or if the background solar wind data in the model is bad, the whole model output is bad. Because it's going to change the arrival time and, you know, all these things about the CME. But when you have multiple CMEs, like one right after the other, getting like sandwiched together, good luck. The model struggles. The model struggles a lot with those kinds of things, which again is why it doesn't matter. Rapid fire like that, okay, we're expecting them on the 31st into the 1st. Good, done. Swipsy puts a G3 because, again, that's pretty decent. That encompasses probably a good majority of what you could expect, possibly. Done. That is my forecast, and that's it. Doesn't matter. So that's where I know everybody loves the models, especially now that we've gotten so many. I do love that we've gotten more models. I will always appreciate having more to compare to. But the like comparisons of this one says this, or like sometimes like I know like Hux T specifically, it'll like update itself. I guess if like Moswalk does a different analysis of it, but it's like, okay, Hux T says this. Oh, now it says this. Like, as long as we're in the same ballpark still, whatever. It's fine. So, as far as the inputs for the background solar wind info, I don't think it's a person per se. So again, you're gonna have to forgive me because this is something that like I know, but I'm freaking tired, so I'm like racking my brain. But so, you know, Enlil's actual scientific name is WSA Enlil. And so the WSA part, if I remember correctly and don't have them backwards, the WSA part is the part that takes account of the like initial parameters, background solar wind. And then the Enlil part is us inputting a CME into that background. And that's where you get the WSA Enlil. So it's background plus the CME. And so I'm pretty sure it's like encompassed from, I don't remember if it takes into account like real time solar wind being observed. Well, no, I know it's not real time solar wind because it's been wrong before. Scratch that. But I know it uses like Gong or something to analyze like the current surface of the sun. Again, forgive me. I don't want to say anything too outlandish on a live YouTube stream. But yeah, it's just analyzing different imagery, I believe, to like calculate the presumed like quiet background conditions because there have been quite a few numerous cases where you can look at Enlil when like from like NASA or SWIPSI and see that like the conditions that are in it prior to a CME being ejected out are completely wrong than what we're actively observing at ACE or Discover. And that's the issue, right? Is like if the current parameters are, say, faster than what we're seeing currently at Earth, it could make a CME get here faster or change, it can change how the model models the CME, basically. So I know it's not coming from the best sources because I know we've been able to compare it to ACE and Discover, and sometimes it's just not good. But I know there's like, again, like scientific reasoning for why they do it the way they do it. So I will just leave that be what it is, I guess. But that's why I say to like take the outputs of the models pretty lightly because also we simplify models greatly so that we can get them in a quick turnaround time, right? Like if you had, we could make them more complex and presumably more accurate, but then they're going to take hours to run. And in certain situations, we don't have hours to wait for an output. So they've been simplified so that we can get them quicker, so that we can make forecasts and, make the alerts do other things. So it's not that the models are bad, they have just been simplified to work quicker. Kind of give and take, quick turnaround, so you got to compromise a little bit. But yeah, I have all the tabs up for all the models, but then I was like, do I even bother? No. No, I don't. I'm too tired for all that. And I know that you guys all know the models, right? Like we've all been so immersed in this the past like 24, 48 hours. You know what the models are. I'm just curious to see, honestly curious to see how this plays out because again, I didn't think any of them looked that incredible. Like I guess they were partial halos, so like there is some type of presumed earth directed component. But again, like I've learned to stop trying. I joke at work all the time actually when we like train new people that still have to like, learn the way of like really like grasping how like difficult space weather is, and that like basically what I tell them is like this is a joke of course, but to logic, use all the science you want, logic your way to whatever that answer is, whether you're forecasting or not forecasting, storming, whatever. All the science, all the logic. You have your answer. Now forecast the complete opposite of that. Because it's like, it feels like no matter how much I try to be so scientific and logical about it, it never freaking goes that way. It just always is some other crazy outcome that I'm just like, why did I even bother? So to a degree, I've stopped bothering. Again, like you get the bare basics. There's a CME coming, glancing blow, whatever you want to call it. Roughly expected on this day. Cool. Done. That's it. I'm not worried about it anymore. Because otherwise I will drive myself mad. And then we get more rants. But yeah, I'm curious to see if we actually do get all of them, if they like do like smush together, or like maybe one or so of them miss. I don't know. But that'll be another thing too, is how do we know? Right? Like unless we get this crazy intense hit that's like such a strong BT that you can only assume that it's all of them sandwiched together. We kind of just have to wait and see how many do or don't show up. Yes, L1 or bust. That's it. Can somebody like, I don't know, we need to get like Space Weather Live or somebody to like put that on a shirt or a sticker. I need that. Because it's the only way. Oh my God, I've been ranting / yapping to you guys for 40 minutes. What else did I even have open here? Oh yeah, oh my God. I don't know how many of you use Donkey, NASA's, or CCMC, NASA's like database, where you can, this is like the main page, and then you can put whatever dates. I think I can like zoom in here a little bit. There we go. You can put whatever date range you want. So I originally had the 29th to the 30th. Oh, why? '30th. And I personally, it's a little messy, but I personally just leave this on, or not that one. I leave this on all. Sometimes if you're looking for something specific, you can change it, but I just leave it on all. And I pulled this up earlier just because this is how I found out that there was 3 CMEs instead of 2. But can we just, this is the list of all the solar flares that have happened since the 29th at 2:28 Zulu to the 30th at 22:35. This is like what? 25, 30 flares? MNX. Like insanity. I've just been getting screamed at all day by a freaking big baby of a son. Chris did get beat up. And again, that's what I feel for them. Like, but yeah, so this was how I was able to, I guess, I'll skip, so they have the flares and they have all the CMEs and their associated models. So down here at the bottom, predominantly this one here, this is where they did Enlil runs, where they injected all 3 CMEs into it. And you can see they're all 3 listed here, which this is how I discovered that there was 3. But yeah, I mean, like, see, it's like, let's just look at this. Like, it looks crazy. So it's like from that, okay, we're getting hit. Presumably they're going to all catch up. You can see the 3rd one, which was the last one, come behind and catch up to the other 2 that had already encompassed each other because they rapid fire pretty much right after each other. But like the nitty gritty, looking into like these colors, don't care. But yeah, so I think that's pretty cool that they have, all 3 of them put into one. But again, back to what I said, the models struggle when you have multiple CMEs in one model run. Because it's like trying to figure out how they're going to interact. Do they catch up? Do they not catch up? But to take with caution, that is the 3 CME model run. But yeah, I love Donkey. It can be a little overwhelming at times when there's a lot going on, which is why sometimes, like I said, you might want to do not the all option and actually like pick a category. But sometimes this just perfectly summarizes my life over the past 48 hours. Okay, so somebody asked the list of all the current models available. So there's quite a few now. So we've got NASA, CCMC, SWIPSI, and UK Met, their space weather group. They're all running Enlil. So Enlil is the type of model that they're all running. And then you have different groups. So you have like the Hux-T, this guy here, which you might have seen probably posted on Twitter, is a type of model that uses the measurements and outputs from UK Met. So the same data from UK Met, but they're running it in a different model, basically. So those are 4 different entities, I guess, but really it's 2 different types of models. So SWIPSI, NASA, and MOSWAC all use Enlil, but like I said, it varies a lot because there's a lot of human bias, or just like, I'm going to measure it different than somebody at SWIPSI is going to measure it, than somebody at NASA is going to measure it. That's just the nature of the beast of modeling or measuring these things by hand with different software tools. So they're using the same model, but different outputs. So I guess you could say they're all different. I know there's the Austrian Space Weather Office that has a model. I'm blanking on the name of it. Who else? I'm so used to like mostly just having NASA and SWPC. And then we got introduced to Hux-T, which I think has been super fun because it's interesting because again it's using the same measurements from MOSWalk, but it's a completely different model. It's giving you a different view than the other models do. So like, yeah, they have this video up here that is kind of similar to the view that I'm gonna play. Maybe it doesn't want to play on live. It has a different view than the NLO, although it's similar-ish. No, not happening. But yeah, but then they have all these other fun, different pieces at the bottom. But yeah, so I can't highlight it, but down here they have CME 8, CME 11, and CME 12. So those are no, I'm sorry. They only have the 2. So they don't have the third one. So CME 11 and CME 12 are the 2 that I was originally solely tracking, which means that it's likely because, again, this is run off of UK Met measurements. So UK Met might not have measured the third one. Or this just isn't up to date yet. I don't know. I don't know the how often this runs. If it's just every time UK Met issues new measurements, this refreshes, reruns. I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, this bottom portion, chef's kiss. Love it. But yeah, I actually don't even have anything else open because, like I said, I was like, let me open all the model runs, and then I decided, no. Where's my? Oh my god, I lost my X-ray plot. Gotta keep an eye on the X-rays. Yeah, it's possible now too that our super feisty friend, one in the northwest, is approaching the limb, so we will be saying goodbye. 3936. See, I can't. They've all been just back and forth the past couple days that I can't even remember. I keep getting those two mixed up, 36 and 39. They're just yapping back and forth to each other. But yeah, so for funsies, this is usually the NASA ISWA layout that I use at work. Now that I had to do a little swapping out and rearranging now that we don't have SDO, but so I just got some double sous vide in here. the classic, gotta have all the coronagraphs. And then our friend the gong. I used to use the, which one was it? This one. This one was my freaking favorite. And I'm so sad that it is dead with SDO being down. I mean, you can still, I guess, see the spots. Right? If I refresh it. Yeah, you can still see the spots, but it's just not the same. Yeah, 39.36. That thing is freaking relentless. Like, I know it hasn't really blown any, like, massive CMEs. It is the culprit of what? Maybe one of them? But, like, it just is not losing its energy. It just keeps going. Yes. I am so excited for the white light and the H alpha. One day I will save money and get a nice telescope. But for now, I just live through everybody on X and Blue Sky that post their backyard images. My favorite. I'm actually really impressed that I still have 16 people here listening to me yap and rant. This is actually pretty cool. But now that I did it for the first time and faced my fear, I can do it more. Because honestly, I was just like, it freaked me out that, like, I appreciate that you guys are so talkative in the chat, because the thought, like, originally, me doing this, knowing that y'all were watching me, but I couldn't see you, was freaking terrifying. Like, seeing the number up in the top, like, oh, there's 15 people watching you, Sarah. I don't like it. But it's fine. This is good now. We'll see. I'm curious to see. Hopefully something arrives while I'm at work tomorrow. I go on to shift at 13 Zulu, so hopefully by then, I guess it could have arrived by then. Hopefully not, but technically by some of the model outputs it could have. So we will see. The first thing I do every morning when I wake up is I check my Space Weather Live notifications to see what has happened. And people at work make fun of me for it, because I'll come into work and I'll already know what has happened overnight. They're going to, like, brief it to me, like, oh, we had, like, an X-Fire. I'm like, yeah, I already know. I already saw it. Yeah, it was actually, so Sunday morning was my first shift back on, like, a normal day shift. And I woke up and I had, like, I don't even know how many freaking notifications for M flares. And I was like, dear God, what am I getting into? Like, what am I about to walk into? I had been on overnights for like 4 weeks, begging the sun to do something because I was struggling to stay awake. And nothing. But then I'm back to like a normal schedule and it just goes bonkers. Can any of my fellow avid YouTubers, will this just like save itself like as a recording on my page now? It'll be there for. I don't like that. It'll be there forever. I'm gonna like rewatch this later and be like, oh, that was something. My first ever live stream. The internet really does never forget. Is anybody planning to see Aurora? I know the US is not looking great as far as cloud cover. At least the last I looked. Maybe the models are getting a little bit better, but I know it wasn't looking too hot for us. Massive X flare on the far side. Gordon, are you talking about one recently, or we had like the big estimated X14 that was like months ago? But other than that, I don't think we have any other known like big X flares recently because we don't have anything back there currently. So we've seen some pretty big far-sided eruptions. I think the assumption is that the regions currently on our disk that have been feisty are probably those same regions that produce those big backside eruptions. Hunter, I keep forgetting you're in Colorado now. Honestly, for the sake of myself and my sleep, I kind of hope it stays cloudy in Nebraska. I don't want to be tempted. All right. So we just need a good arrival time for my friends in Australia. I am hoping for the absolute best for y'all. Okay, yeah, you're talking about the 3,000 kilometer per second CME. Yeah, I think the assumption that is one of the regions currently on the disk. Unfortunately, we don't know for sure which one it came from, but honestly, it seems to track pretty well that it is probably that. I forget. I forget what day that was. That there was that 3,000 kilometer CME. Let me look. Of course, I can't easily find it, but I'm pretty sure the timing tracks that one of the regions currently on the disc was the culprit for that big backside CME. Oh, thank you. December 17th. So yeah, that was like what? Almost 2 weeks ago. So yeah, that'd be about right if it was maybe 39.39. Can't say for sure, but yeah, I mean, also thankfully for me, like, I say thankfully, that's so depressing to myself, but Nebraska is like kind of still decently south in the fact that, like, I don't know, I am not interested in going out in the cold for some like low level aurora. Like, so I've seen it twice now here when it was like overhead, but that was what, the May G5 storm and then the October G4. So like if this really does get to G3 or lower, I'm just not in it. If it was not winter, sure. I would go enjoy a night out in, the warmth, but it's cold. I can't do it. Also, I got to work the next morning. And my luck, if I get no sleep, the sun will just not be nice to me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure I'm going to end up convincing myself to consider going out. But we'll see. Also, I don't like being in the middle of nowhere at night by myself. Not vibe. At least it could actually work out depending, you know. I have to remember that it gets dark at 5 p.m. right now. So depending when this thing happens and how everything's looking, I could do a little aurora chasing and still be in bed at a decent hour. So look at me, convincing myself when it hasn't even happened yet. My God, Hunter, it's actually funny that you say that. So for the October storm, me and some coworkers ended up going out and like in Nebraska, like west of Omaha, just enough to get out of like the lights and everything. We ended up down some like country road, like along some farmland or whatever. And so we're like down this dirt road by ourselves in this field, and this like truck drives up on us. And I'm like, oh, okay. Come to find out, it's the owner of the field that we were in. And I'm thinking we're about to get like yelled at, like we're in this guy's field, like, you know. And so we're like, oh, like, do you need us to leave? Like, we're sorry. And he's like, no, are you here for the aurora? And we're like, yeah. Like, did not expect somebody like to know that. Just, I guess the news probably, had gotten a hold of it. And he's like, nah, I was just checking to make sure that you guys had some beer and we're having a good time. That's Nebraska for you. Yeah, honestly, for the May storm, I was like down a dirt road and this car pulled up on me And I was by myself that time, so I got like kind of freaked out. I'm like, oh shit, this is it. And it was this old man checking to see if I was doing okay, which was really funny to explain because it wasn't like visible with the naked eye. I was getting it on camera, but explaining to this older man that I'm out there watching the aurora and you can't even see it. I was kind of hoping that the sun would flare while I was on here, not gonna lie. It kind of maybe finally quieted down a little bit. Low energy protons are still trending downward, which is not the greatest. But again, they're still elevated, so it's not like they're completely back to like background level or anything. But plot twist, they all just end up being a miss. You get nothing. You know what? I should try to track down that third CME that I have yet to actually like fully look at. Take me back to what it was. So it was one on the 29th at 1:20 Zulu, right? Yeah, because Hux T has. Oh, yep. 9 and 23. So sometime super early on the 29th. Which is that this one that's up here? No. I just feel so confused by this third CME that some people have and some people don't. Filament eruption. So that means I need to set this back farther then. Oh. Interesting. So Met Office had it as a miss. So maybe that's why Hux T didn't pick up on it. But so they had it as a miss. But I guess NASA doesn't. Again, like this is a clear example of where I just like stop caring. Not caring, but like there's storming in the forecast. The nitty-gritty of it doesn't matter, I guess. So we'll see. All right. With that, maybe I will call it a night on this. It's been what, an hour and 15 minutes almost, which is decent. Part of me feels like I should have went into the models a little bit more, but y'all got my whole rant on that already. That's fine. We will just keep a close eye on L1, see what happens. Or, as some of us also joke, it's a bust now because the news got a hold of it. So everybody's making their articles in their own Aurora view maps. So now it's a bust. It's over. But yeah, so thank you for joining me for my first ever live stream. This was fun. Like I said, I've gotten over my fear now. See you for the impact stream. Yeah, depending when it shows up, I might be deep in it at work tomorrow if this pans out. So we will see. You will find out from my Twitter post probably how this goes. So, because if this happens between like 13 and 22-ish Zulu, I will be at work dealing with it. If not, if it holds off or some other weird things happen, maybe we will stream again. We will see. But with that, I will end it. Thank you. This was fun. I appreciate y'all. Get some sleep if you're going to prepare to Aurora Chase tomorrow. And L1 or bust. Bye, guys.